welcome to Homework Hotline, the show with all the helping hands on all your homework needs. I'm your host, Isaiah Gear, back as always, and thank you all for tuning into our live broadcast this evening. If you guys haven't seen Homework Hotline before, let me run you through how our show works. Each episode, we invite a special and very intelligent panel of tutors to help you with your homework. They review certain lessons and certain topics, some of which you may be learning in class already. And you guys can join live our Twitch at HMG_Twitch and ask questions, give your support, or just watch our lovely show in general. So we are going to roll straight into our first lesson of the day. We're going to get our homework on, starting off with Vincent. Now, Vincent, you've been teaching us algebra, math, all of the sort for the past couple of weeks. Is there any change in our lesson plan for today?
Yep, today I'm going to teach a geometry lesson.
Oh, geometry. I look forward to it. Well, you go straight ahead, my friend.
All right, thanks. All right, so on this Jamboard, we're going to be talking about angles of depression and elevation. Now, the one on the left here, this is an angle of elevation. You see that there's some sort of horizontal here, and then a line that goes above it, and the angle created between the horizontal and the line, since it's above the horizontal, it's an angle of elevation. And on the right here, since there's a horizontal and the line creates the angle below the horizontal, that's an angle of depression. So now that we know that, we're going to throw up an example problem. All right. Here's the first problem. It reads, from the top of a fire tower, a forest ranger sees his partner on the ground at an angle of depression of 40 degrees. If the tower is 45 feet in height, how far is the partner from the base of the tower to the nearest tenth of a foot? So the first thing we have to do in problems like these is draw a picture. So we're going to start with the tower. And we'll draw the ground right next to it, assuming that the tower and the ground create a 90-degree angle. We know that it says how far is the partner from the base of the tower. So we have to draw the partner. And we're going to draw the hypotenuse. We're going to connect the forest ranger at the top of the tower to the partner. That's the line of sight. And that creates basically a triangle. This is a 90-degree angle. We know that the height of the tower is 45 feet. And we know that the angle of depression is 40 degrees. So really the partner at the top of the tower here, if you picture his line of sight, it basically goes like this, which that creates the horizontal. And it says an angle of depression of 40 degrees. This angle right here, that's the 40-degree angle. And that's not in the triangle, so we have to do something to that for it to help us. And we can use alternate interior angles because two parallel lines are joined by one line. So the 40 degrees there can become 40 degrees here. Now we have an angle inside the triangle. And we know it's asking for how far the partner is from the base of the tower. So we're solving for x here. And how we solve problems like these is with trig functions. And the one we're going to use here is the one that involves the opposite side and the adjacent side, which is tangent. So we're going to do the tangent of 40, because that's the angle, equals opposite over adjacent. So 45 over x. We rearrange for x, and it essentially becomes x equals 45 over the tangent of 40. And you divide that, you get x is roughly, because it asks to the nearest tenth of a foot, 53.6. That's this measure here. And that's what we're being asked to find, nearest tenth of a foot. So we're good. That answers the first problem. And I got one more. It's a bit more complicated, of course. says a radio station was built in two sections. From a point 87 feet from the base of the tower, the angle of elevation of the top of the first section is 25 degrees, and the angle of elevation of the top of the second section is 40 degrees. To the nearest foot, or what is the height of the top section of the tower? So we're going to have to draw another picture here. So we're going to first start with our tower. And we know that it has two sections. So we'll just split it in half. We'll call the first section A, and we'll call the second section B, the top section. It says at a point on the ground 87 feet from the base of the tower. So we're going to draw a ground. This is going to be 87 feet. And this is the point that it's talking about. It says from there, the angle of elevation to the top of the first section is 25 degrees. And the angle of elevation from that same point to the top of the second section here is 40 degrees. Now, what we're being asked to find is the height of the top section of the tower, so this, but we can't directly use a trig function with that because it doesn't create a right angle. So what we have to do here is find the we have to find the height of the entire tower and then subtract it from the height of the first section of the tower, and that'll get us the second section. So we're going to find the height of the entire tower first. So we're going to use the 40 degree angle because that's the entire triangle. So tan of 40 equals x over opposite over adjacent. So x, this is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side. So x over 87. Rearrange, multiply 87 by the tan of 40. That'll get you x. And x equals 73 feet. So that's the height of the entire tower. So I'm sorry, I made a mistake labeling this. So that's x, we're going to call the entire height of the tower. The top section is B, the bottom section is A. So that's why x equals 73 feet, but that's not B, that's the entire height. So now we have to find the height of the first section of A. So now we're going to use the 25 degree angle because that's the angle of elevation that goes up to the top of the first section. So we're going to do tan of 25 equals opposite over adjacent. Once again, A is the opposite side. 87 feet is still the adjacent side. So we're going to do A over 87. Again, multiply 87 by the tangent of 25. And we get x, or A, sorry, equals 40.57 feet. Now, we know that the entire height is 73 feet. We know that the first section is 40.57 feet. So all we have to do is subtract the entire height minus the first section, and that'll get us the height of the second section. So 73 minus 40.57. And that gets us 32 feet. 32 feet, that's the height of B, the second section. But yeah, that's all I have. Pretty simple. Just make sure you know which trig functions you're using. Make sure you draw a picture first. That's super important to help visualize it. And after that, it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Vincent. Hope you guys were paying attention to that awesome lesson. Very informative. But we're going to run into our next lesson right ahead. But actually, first, I'm going to give a little shout outs to our sister show, our sister live show, a little bit of light live. They aired on Tuesdays on our same network, HMG_Twitch on Twitch. Each episode, they invite a special teacher or a counselor to their show to talk about mental health. This week, next week rather, they'll be inviting Mr. Smith to their show. You guys should go check that out. It's an awesome show with awesome people involved. It's a great watch indeed. Now we are going to move on to Leticia, who is going to be teaching us English, perhaps?
Yeah, hello.
Welcome, Leticia. You can get started with your lesson whenever you are ready.
Okay, so today I'm going through with another round of rhetorical devices. So as mentioned in previous live streams, rhetorical devices are used in storytelling. And it's really important to know these because it allows you to interpret what the author is trying to say with more ease. So to begin, we have liabilities, which use negative terms to express something positive. They're understatements. So for example, not bad. You're actually trying to say that that person is doing good. Or you are not wrong. You're actually trying to say that they are right. Or by saying that someone is no ordinary person, you're actually trying to say that they're special. Liabilities can be used as understatements when you say something like, I've been told that a time or two. You probably mean that you've been told that pretty frequently. So they kind of reject the main idea to push forth their own opinion. Moving on, we have a metanoia. Now, if you type metanoia into Google, you might get a lot of websites that have religious undertones. This is because metanoia also means a spiritual conversion, or as if you're being reborn with a different lifestyle, which kind of makes sense because a metanoia in rhetorical terms means a clarifying or reforming statement. So for example, they must take some blame. Okay, they should take all of it. You've changed your mind mid-sentence. Or by telling someone that they're the prettiest person in town and then changing your mind by saying that they're the prettiest person in the world, you're also clarifying your statement. Moving on, we have parallelism, which is similar wording and phrasing. So parallelism is pretty straightforward. Like in the first example, we're saying like father, like son. Now, the reason as to why I start parallelism is because if you're a junior, you probably have gotten your ACT results back today. And if you're looking to improve your English score, parallelism is one of the topics that they cover on the ACT. So in terms of parallelism, it's really about having the same balance structured throughout the entire sentence. So if you're given a question to like choose between the last two examples, like, you know, the way that she traveled by train or boat and plane, then it's important to put by before every single thing. You want to have equal parts for equal words. So for example, if you were to say that someone traveled by plane, boat, and by train, that's incorrect because boat doesn't have a by in front of it. So parallelism is really about having structured sentences that have value to every single word. So that the reason that these are used, and I also would like to cover that the last example that's in red, it's not necessarily grammatically incorrect. There's nothing wrong with saying that someone traveled by plane, boat, and by train again, but it's just not parallel to each other, which is something that the ACT really values. So when we talk about rhetorical devices, they all have a purpose. So the usage, litotes, in terms of their usage, are used in order to provoke irony or to avoid an issue. I know that sometimes I'm not really comfortable with telling the truth. I don't like hurting someone's feelings. So instead of saying that something is horrible, I might say, well, it's not amazing, right? So it's also used to like avoid an issue. Metanoias are used for emphasis. You know, by saying someone is not only the prettiest person in town, but in the world, you're emphasizing how pretty they are. And lastly, parallelism is also used to make arguments clear. That's why you might catch a lot of global leaders using parallelism. When you keep repeating something with the same structure, it sticks in someone's head, and they remember it, which makes arguments a lot clearer. And that's pretty much all I have today for rhetorical devices.
Thank you so much, Leticia. Thank you so much on your lessons. You're great at what you do, and we love to have you as always. Now, another batch of shout outs going out to our audience and our viewers in our chat currently. We have Tristan Kinsfather. He's a graphic designer back at HMG News. He's also great at what he does. Thank you very much, Tristan. We have Kayleen Monteagudo from Raving for Retail. She co-hosts with Liara Shirley, and they go over small businesses in fashion, and that's also a great show which airs on our HMG News YouTube. We have Alexis Nico Main writes, woo, who is right? We're getting our homework on over here. And lastly, we have Wild Child Kylie, my number one fan. Thank you for tuning in into our chat. All right, so we are going to knock out our last lesson here with Erica Fish. Thank you so much for returning. More Spanish?
Of course.
Oh, how did I know? All right.
How did you? All right. So today we're going over preterite form in Spanish. This is another type of conjugation. I haven't covered anything like this before. We've mostly been going over Spanish 1 heavy topics. This is going to be heavily for Spanish 2 and even Spanish 3 speakers or class students, whatever you want to call it. Spanish 2, you guys should be reviewing over this currently, if I remember correctly. Either this, you're reviewing over it now, or you will be reviewing over it soon. Preterite form is basically the past tense. However, there are some key things that you need to keep in mind when using it that you know, okay, this is when I should be using the preterite, because there are other forms of the past tense, which I won't go over today, but I may go over in the future, such as the imperfect tense, that makes it different and has different implications. So for example, the preterite form, you use this when an action is completed. You did it once and then it's done. Like, let's say you walk to the store. Okay, you walk to the store, you did it, you're done. Or you pick something up, you picked it up, that's it. So these are mostly for actions that don't take a long time or just have a clear specific time frame, which leads us into our next thing. Yes, you need to have a specific time frame for preterite form. For example, you may say you did it yesterday or you did it on Saturday. These are specific days and specific times. You can't use this when you're talking about like, oh yeah, I do this every summer or I do this every day, because that's not specific enough to be using preterite. You would also use this for a series of finished events. So if you say like, oh, I walked my dog, got ice cream, went back home. You're saying a series of finished events that you've done. And finally, you use this when one action interrupts another action. So let's say you were walking down the street when you saw a dog. That's when you would use it. You'd use preterite for that. So you have an ongoing action, I was walking, and then you say, I saw a dog. It interrupted what you were doing. So into the actual conjugation of this form, for AR verbs, this is a little weird. This is gonna mess with your head because it always messes with mine. Usually when we are conjugating yo form, we have O. We change it to an O. But in preterite, you're gonna change it to an E with an accent mark. A lot of people, I got confused about this, so I assume a lot of people get confused about this, is what an accent mark does. All it does is that, at least for these types of accent marks, just like the little dashes, it just enunciates it. It just is like the main enunciation in the word. So you're gonna start off with E, and then tu is aste, el is o, nosotros is amos, which is great. It doesn't change. We love nosotros for that. We have vosotros, which changes to astes in the AR, of course, and ellos changes to aram. So this is kind of nice. You're gonna see, oh, A. Great. All you need to remember that like is very weird and different is the O and the E and how those flip. ER and IR, it's nice. They're the same conjugation, so there's not 3 types of conjugation forms. There's only 2. For yo, it's going to change to an I. For tu, it's going to be iste. See, kind of follows the same pattern. El is io. Nosotros is imos. Again, not too big of a change. That's how you would conjugate it normally in present tense. Vosotros is istes, again, pattern, and ieron instead of on or whatever you're using, en. So let's say we were actually using a verb. I'd say comer. That's an easy one, to eat. So let's be come, I ate. Wait, sorry. Wrong. That's an ER verb. I'm silly. Hablar. Let's do hablar, which is to talk. I get it mixed up. So let's say hablé. Hablaste. Hablo. So you're saying I spoke, I did this. It's not I was speaking, it's I spoke, or they spoke, or, however you're using it. This is just hablamos. And some people ask, how do I know that this is a different tense if the conjugation is the same for nosotros? Context clues. Context clues. If someone's saying, I did this yesterday, you're like, oh, or we did that yesterday. Yeah, you're right. Hablaron. That's for ellos, or ustedes, or ellas. For this one, let's use salir. Salir is to leave. So I left, salí. You left, saliste. He left, salió. Nosotros, we left, we all left. Salimos. And for vosotros, which is you guys, if and it's informal. It's mostly used in Spain, from what I know. Salistes. And ellos is salieron. So that's basically my lesson for today. This is a tough concept to get down. I still struggle with it all the time. It's just repetition and getting used to it, and using past tense whenever you should. So I'll send it back to Isaiah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erica. Gracias por enseñar español.
De nada, Isaiah. Muy bien.
Thank you for teaching Spanish. I know we can't all be in Spanish 3, but that wraps up our show for today. One last little thing I'd like to say before we wrap up, though. If you guys want to watch more Homework Hotline goodness, be sure to catch up on our past few videos. We have 11, 12, 13, 14, all on our YouTube, edited at HMG News. They're great. Ethan edits our videos, and he's a great editor, along with Nick, Miss McLean, Jose, who also helps makes this stream possible. Thank you, guys. Now, that's all for our show today. Thank you to our tutors, Leticia, Erica, and Vincent. You guys are awesome. Thank you to our audience. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. Whole lot of things going around. But last thing, if you guys ever need help with your homework, don't ever be afraid to call the Homework Hotline. We'll see you guys next time.